Hey, what is going on everybody, and welcome to another video. Happy 2023. I hope everyone is having a great start of the year. As always, thank you so much for all of your support. And yeah, to kick things off this year, I thought we would start with kind of a little bit of a different video. Today I'm gonna be sharing with you my approach to folder and file organization, and also how I use takes and tokens and how it's working for me, because it's a question that I get often. So I thought, why not? Let's just share this with everyone and see if it's useful for you guys. So let's jump straight in into Adobe Illustrator, and I decided to do it this way, just so that I can move around the screen, and hopefully it's a little bit better and more easier to understand than just me going through my folders in Explorer or anything like that. So yeah, let's start with the project folder structure. So I have a template folder that I keep in my work folder. Every time that I start a new project, I just copy and paste this one, change the name, and I'm ready to go. I have all of these folders and everything is already set up for me. So let me just show you how this works here. So inside my template folder, I will rename that to the current project. So why don't I just show you also my naming convention that I use. I always use the name of the client first. So let's say, for example, let's say it's Starbucks. So I'm going to abbreviate that as SBX because it's a long name, Starbucks, and then underscore. We would do probably the so it's the client name, the project, and then the client and the project. So let's say gift cards, for example, gift cards, maybe the year 2023, why not? And let me grab this and move it over here just so it's a little bit easier to see. So SPX gift cards 2023, and then we go inside and I have all of the structure here, and the first folder that I have is the assets folder. So inside the assets folder I have more folders here. And really quick, I do like to use the numbers in all of the folders. It keeps everything organized, and I can just sort by the name, and it's gonna always give me that same structure. And the reason why, if you're wondering, I had the underscore template is because if I go here to my work folder and go into the active clients, you can see that I have my template folder here, and it has the underscore because that way it's always going to stick to the top of the hierarchy, no matter what, if I'm sorting by name. So it helps keep everything organized. Okay, so inside the assets folder, here's where I put anything that I get from the client, or anything that I'm gathering or everything that I need and I gather from different sources for the project. So obviously we have 3D models, we have any audio that would include like any voiceovers or music that I need to use in the project. Any fonts that I get, I like to put here, especially because when I archive this into a separate drive, everything is going to live here, and I can always reinstall the font later. And yeah, I definitely recommend you to do that, because our client can come back in 2 years time, and you definitely want to have everything if they need changes for anything, unless you gave them the files, but that's a different story. All right, so number 4 is footage. I usually don't work with footage, but if the project needs or requires it, it would go in here. Stills, same thing. And then for references, any references that I'm gathering or that I get from the client would go in folder number 6 here. And in here I also keep the PureRef files. I use PureRef when I'm working, so you probably know this app already, but yeah, I use PureRef for just keeping a window with all my references handy. So the PureRef files will go in here. The second folder is the projects folder, and if I open that, this is obviously the heart of the project structure. Here I have my C4D files, AE, Premiere, and the Behance. The Behance is not something that I use too often. This is something that I started doing, I think it was about a year or two ago, but this one has become more of where like I drop R&D files that I can use later for my website or to share on social, and it's just a central location where I know that I can go, and anything that was like in the R&D phase and maybe it didn't end up in the final, or anything that I really liked when I was working on, I can just drop here or make a copy, and it'll be in a central location where I can find it. Okay, so the C4D files folder, if I show you that, is composed of these three folders. So I have my template C4D. We're going to talk about that in a second. I have a text folder, which is obviously any files or textures that I'm going to drop in there, and the renders folder. And I also have the underscore, same exact thing, just to keep it on the top of the hierarchy in there. For the AE files, it's pretty much the same thing, just a template that it's already organized, and we can go into that in a different video. But yeah, just a template After Effects file, and then the renders folder right next to it. And I like to keep it this way. Before, I used to do a folder in here in the main let me maybe grab my drawing tools, a folder here in the main structure that was called like renders or something like that, but I think it's especially with using tokens and whatnot in Cinema 4D, I think it's a lot cleaner to just keep the renders folder here right next to the file, and everything is just in one folder versus, you know, having to go through the different layers of this hierarchy. So it's just something that I like to do that has worked pretty well for me. It also keeps everything a little bit cleaner when, you know, setting up the tokens and whatnot. Okay, in here, Premiere files is the same. I usually don't do a lot of Premiere editing, but I have the folder here just in case the project requires it. Most of the time is just C4D and After Effects. So number 3 here from the main hierarchy is the shared, and I keep this folder here especially when I'm working with a studio and they require me to jump onto a Dropbox folder or a Google Drive folder. What's the other one? The OneDrive folder. The mail uses that one a lot. So if I have a share folder that I'm sharing with the rest of the team, I still keep my own hierarchy, because even though I may be working from that share folder, I still save some of that stuff to my own personal structure, and that way I don't mix anything up. So if any shared folders, like actively sharing Dropbox, OneDrive, Google Drive, whatever, they would go in here. Any documents, and this is where I keep all of my legal stuff. As you can see, the first one here is the legal. Any scripts for the project, of course, any storyboards that I make, and any guidelines that I receive from the client would go in here. Number 5 is the roughs folder, and this is anything that I render from After Effects, for example, or anything that needs to be reviewed by the client. Usually inside here I keep folders named by the date, so it's easy to, you know, just go back and check, and it's just a simple way to keep track of everything that has been sent to the client, even though most of the time reviews actually go through like frame.io, or it's a Dropbox replay link, which is like the competition for frame.io. Any renders that go directly to the client for feedback go in here. And finally, masters. Obviously it's pretty self-explanatory. Any final files, render files from the project, and also any collected files that I send to the client after the project is done would go in here in the masters. So this is actually how my hierarchy for my projects look, and I think it's not like super complicated. It doesn't go super deep into the layer structure or the folder structure, but I think it's organized enough so that it's easy for anyone that's coming into or opening the project to navigate, and also easy to yeah, just for me to navigate and keep track of everything, and yeah, just keep everything organized. So that's that for the folder structure. So let's talk about the C4D side of things now. Let me pull up Cinema 4D, and let me move the recording area here. There we go. Can I move this? Yeah. Okay. All right. So Cinema 4D. As I told you, I have a template, and if I open a new file here, let me close this one. It's gonna say that, but yeah, this is what Cinema 4D opens whenever I open, and obviously everybody knows that you can set up your file, set up your render settings and everything, and then you can go in here into customization, and then you can save it as a default scene. Anytime you open a new file in Cinema 4D, it's gonna open with that. So here I have a little bit more organization for the file. I have 3 folders for scene, lights, and environment. I have just 1 key light and 1 HDRI in there, and then some organization for the cameras. As you can see, I am not looking through the camera because I always use a separate viewer for that. So it's probably here and here. So here's my separate viewer that's actually looking through this camera, and it's already set up as the render view. So whenever I need to render something, it's just ready to go for me, and it's just the way that I like to work. I always keep this big viewport for, you know, just editing the scene and doing all of that good stuff. I also have my file organized with layers, and you can see them here. Everything is color coded a little bit. It's just a little bit of my OCD, I guess, but I like to keep everything organized, especially when working with teams. As I'm working on a project or a file, I name everything, I put everything in layers, I put everything in the right folder structure here, so that when I need to share the file, it's already ready to go. I am not a believer that you should just work as fast as you can and unorganized, and then just leave the organization for the last part of the project. That I don't think that works, and I can't tell you how many times I've been working with a team where I receive a file from somebody that was working at 9 a.m. and then I need to jump in at like 2 p.m. and then I have to spend 1 hour trying to figure out what this person was working on, organizing, naming things. It's just a mess. So please always organize as you go, and I promise everybody's gonna love you for it. And you know, it's you're doing it as you go. I don't see how you can be working any faster if you don't take 10 seconds to, you know, name your things. But anyways, we have layers here. Everything is organized by layers, and yeah, so this is how my file looks. If we go into the render settings, and I'm actually going to undock this, my render settings is also ready to go. And as you can see here, I have Redshift because that's the one that I use the most. And I have my tokens already set up here. I don't have any takes in this file, in this main file, just because it changes all the time. So I leave that open. But as you can see here, I already have it set up for rendering with takes. So let me talk about the tokens. So tokens, if you don't know, it's a way for Cinema 4D to basically take whatever input you are telling it to use and name your files that way. So the beauty about this is that I don't really need to come in here, select a location, and then a naming convention and all of that every single time that I'm working on this. This is already set up to go into my renders folder, and as you can see, it keeps it a little bit more organized and clean when the renders folder is right next to the Cinema 4D file. So as you can see here, underscore renders, and then we have a backslash or a slash, and then we have the $ PRJ. So that's I'm telling Cinema 4D to use the project name for creating a folder. So it's gonna go into the renders folder, and then it's going to create, let me get my drawing. It's gonna go into, oops, that's not looking good. It's gonna go into my renders folder, and then it's gonna create a folder called the same name as the project. And then inside that folder, we are going to create the files by the project name and then underscore the take name. If there's no takes, it's just gonna name it main. So here is where I sometimes have to come in, and if I don't have any takes, I just take a second to delete that, and now everything is going to be named by the project name, which, by the way, you should always try to, let me come in here, for example, for the project name, let's say that it's for this project, so it would be Starbucks, oh, this is too, need to be zoomed in. So Starbucks, so client, gift cards, project, and let's say animation underscore V01. It's getting off screen there, give me a second. So let's say that, for example, this is the name of my file, and actually, for the sake of the tutorial, I am going to do it like this. So let's go hit save, and then we're gonna go into Patreon posts, this one, let's go Cinema 4D, and I'm gonna show you right now. This is my Patreon folder structure. As you can see, I don't have the renders folder in here, but it's good that I don't have it, just so I can show you what this is gonna do. So Starbucks gift cards, animation V1. As you can see, the name of the project is already here, and I'm just going to grab like a cube, for example, and actually, I'm gonna pause the recording for a second, and I'm gonna grab a Starbucks card from a project that I was working on recently. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, I brought in the gift card, but I didn't want to just show you the viewport, so I worked a little bit on the lighting here. Just a few lights in here, and yeah, it doesn't look you know, extraordinary, but at least it's something that we can look at. Okay, so yeah, I brought my gift card in here. Let's put it in here into the scene, and we can go from there. So yeah, so Starbucks gift cards, let me close this out, and now we have that. My camera is looking from below, like so. And let's say that I want to set up a few angles. Let me go into my takes, and here's where I would do, for example, this would be shot 01. Don't do spaces in the takes, because if you do use the tokens, when you render, the token is going to replace that space with an underscore. So that's why I keep everything inside the like with no spaces. Let's do 3 shots, shot 2, and then shot 3. So let's see, I'm gonna show you how I would approach this here. So there's 2 ways that we can do this. We can actually create 3 separate cameras and then assign it to each one of the takes, or the way that I would probably approach it is with the same camera, keeps everything clean, and then just use takes to save the new angles and whatnot. So let's do that. So shot 1 we already set up, it's good to go. Let's go into shot 2 and enable it. And I also keep these things here in the HUD handy, so that I can actually switch between my takes from here, and I actually have you know, just a visual cue of the take that I'm on. So shot 2, let me go into activate the auto take. So right now Cinema 4D is recording everything that I do in the background. And I'm just gonna grab my camera control here. You can see that it's blue because it's telling me that, you know, if you make a change here, it's gonna be recorded. And I'm just going to go to a different angle, and let me maybe do something like that, whatever. Let's go into shot 3. As you can see, it jumped back to the same camera angle because in my main take, this camera angle is the one that is set. So in this one, we're gonna do like a close-up shot. So I'm gonna get really close, and then I'm going to rotate even more, and maybe do something like this, maybe from an angle, and get a little bit closer still. And the camera is doing this weird thing because of the target object that I have here. Let's disable that, and I should be able to now. Oh, this is all screwed up, so let me disable that and disable this, and now I am actually using the C control, and then I can control my rotation from here, go there, and if I want to do some rotation like this, we can do that. So now we have 3 shots. We have the close-up, we have this angle, and we have that angle, which is a little bit simpler. If I go into my render settings here, as I said, everything is already set up for me to go into the renders and render with that. As you can see, we now need to bring back the take, so I'm just going to grab it from the multipass, and just for the sample, the sake of the tutorial, I'm going to disable my multipass. Let's just not go too much into the details for that. Let me go into current frame, and that's it. I'm ready to just come here and say, or actually I need to select my takes, and right now, because I only have one camera in my file, and it's my second viewport is already set up to render as a render view, it's going to take that. I only have one render setting in my file, it's going to take that. I don't really need to worry about this. I can just go in here and then render mar takes to picture viewer. So it's going to do its thing, and if while it's doing that, I'm going to try to find that obviously it's going to look like crap, so just take it with a grain of salt. Let me go into here, and let's go to Patreon, posts, and then let's go to takes and tokens, Cinema 4D file. And what I was saying before I stopped the recording to bring in the gift card is that I didn't have a renders folder in here, but because I have it set up the way that I have it set up, it's already going to tell Cinema to create that renders folder. So if the folder is not there, it's going to create it for you, and then in here you can see that it's taking the name of my project, which is great, and then rendering my 3 angles in here. And this works exactly the same if it's an animation. If you have your animation in the takes, it's going to render 3 separate takes. If you do have the animation per take, I would probably recommend coming back into the render settings and making it create another folder per take. So we will have to do $take / so I think I have one extra there. So yeah, you can see here that it's going to create a project, a folder for the project, a folder for the take, and then it's going to grab your naming convention, and that's it. I mean, from here on out, I can just simply increase increment save. So you can do Control Alt S, and if you take a look here, hopefully you can see my mouse where it says V1. It's going to save it as V2. I'm going to do my changes. For example, let's completely rotate the card, but let me make sure that I'm not recording the auto take, so that it, if this is off, I may be going a little bit too fast, but it's just the way that my brain works because I'm so used to working on this. So if I disable the auto take, right now I am adjusting for example, the rotation of the card on a main take level. So if I rotate this like this, now it's that all of the child takes are going to take that change, and as you can see, it's been changed everywhere. So this is just to say that I already increment save my file. I did all of my things here in the takes, and now I can just come back here and say render mark takes to picture viewer. I don't need to worry about going into the render settings, selecting a folder, renaming. Cinema 4D is doing all of that for me. And if I go back here, you can see, and it's keeping it organized too, because if I go into the renders, now I have a Cinema 4D folder that corresponds, or a Cinema 4D file that corresponds to these same naming conventions. So if the client says, great, let's go back to version 1, we have that because we have it here. Let me switch this to list view. We have it here in our Cinema 4D files, and it is something that I personally like to do every single day. So for example, I will work on version 1 on one day. If there's no like big changes, I don't increment save unless there is, but if I come back in the morning and it's a fresh day, I always increment save and start from there. So if I go into my renders folder and check V2, you can see that this has created 3 separate shot folders for each one of the renders, and everything is good to go there. So this is a way that I use tokens and takes in Cinema 4D. Hopefully it wasn't too confusing, but as always, let me know if there's any questions. Thank you so much for being around, and I'll see you next month. Thank you.